How's it going, guys and gals? This is Mr. Bass, and I want to talk to you today about how to protect your fishing rods. And you know, fishing rods are the lifeblood. They're the key tool for our success, and they can be very expensive. For example, this Loomis NRX rod that I'm holding right here is around $550 just for the rod. And they make things to protect your fishing rods, sleeves, jackets, those kind of things. And I've seen videos out there. Do they work? I can tell you for a fact they absolutely do work. They're essential if you want to protect your guides. These guides get bent and broken, and they just need protection, really. And these sleeves, these jackets really do work. I want to talk to you about the different types of sleeves and jackets that are out there, and talk to you about kind of how I've morphed and changed over the years. I started with these Bass Pro jackets. They're made out of a nylon sort of material, and the one nice thing about them is they have a really nice adjustable strap on them. So let me show you in action. I've got one here. I've got a light spinning rod that I have a sleeve on. One of these old Bass Pro sleeves. And I don't use these for most of my rods anymore, but I still like them for these small spinning rods because the sleeve strap works great on these reels. And if I'm not using them frequently, I still think they're fine. What I don't like about these nylon jackets is treble hooks. If you get a treble hook anywhere near this, it's going to go straight through, and you are not getting it out without tearing this. And I've torn, there's just no way to get it out without tearing. So they're not very practical on rods you're going to use every single day, because you'll get treble hooks in them and you'll never be able to get them out. So that's one of the things I don't really like about these sleeves. But they're cheaper, and so if you're really on a budget trying to watch your money, this kind of sleeve may be your very best option. A few years after they came out with those, companies started making these that are made out of webbing, and it's probably made out of nylon as well, but it's flexible and it's springy, and it slides on the rods really well. And there's a ton of them out there. Like this is the original Rod Sock, and I think in some ways they're one of the best. One of the things that I like about the Rod Sock is it has this fitting on the end that tightens it down, and I'll show you the difference. Here's another one called the Stick Jacket, and it doesn't have this thing that kind of wraps around and pulls this to kind of a point. It's just flat. The Stick Jacket's just flat. No telling why they have a grommet in there. It doesn't make any sense, really, to me, why there's a grommet. I'm not going to store and hang all these on hooks or nails, but maybe some people do. It's pretty much the same material as the others. Like I said, it has the grommet in it, and it will stop your rod tip. But I've found that these ones that are flat and not pointed, the rods end up poking through more often. And here's a good example. This is a Bass Pro model that just over time it started to wear out, and you can see the rod tip slides right through it. Well, once that starts happening, the thing's worthless. The one advantage to these solid nylon rod socks like this is that your rod is fully protected, in that it's never going to poke through these. These are very strong, and they probably do ultimately protect your guides a little better in the long run. It's just they're terrible with hooks. So if you're going to go with one of these springy sort of covers, I would go with one more like the, which brand is this again? This is the Rod Sox, that have kind of this pointed end on. To me, I think it's just better protection for your rod tip. One other issue, in addition to them wearing out and poking through, they don't have to wear out to poke through. This webbing is, as I said, very flexible, and if you get the wrong kind, your tip will end up poking through, and then your tip is exposed. The other minor problem, it doesn't happen often, but it will happen occasionally. You'll notice that your guide pokes through the webbing like that, and when that happens, of course, again, you've wasted the cover. Now, this does not happen very often, but it does happen occasionally. So that's kind of one of the downsides to the webbing. The webbing's a lot easier to get on and off your rods, but that's also in and of itself a problem also at times. And I can show you what I mean by this is I've had times where I was on the boat on the water, and it's convenient that these slip off and on really, really easy. But I have had times where you simply just barely push it like that, and the entire thing flies off the rod, off the boat into the water. Not a huge deal. You just got to go back and retrieve it. But over time, they just kind of wear out, and they don't stay on nearly as well as something like these neoprene covers. Another nice thing about these kind of springy ones is that if you get a hook, a treble hook in these springy socks, I can go ahead and poke one in here. It's still a pain to get out, but you can actually just push the rod sock up this way, and it makes the holes bigger, and it's easier to get your hook out. It's still a pain, but these are definitely easier when it comes to treble hooks. And I got all kinds. Like there's a lot of companies, Woo Tungsten, 6 Sense Lures, a bunch of companies now that are making these, and they put their logos on, but they're all very, very similar. Here's a no-name brand. I don't know where I got this. Oh, this is called the Rod Glove. The Rod Glove, the Rod Sox, the Rod Jacket, they're all pretty much the same, and it's pretty much similar materials. And I've used these for years, and these were kind of my go-to type of rod sleeve. But I have since landed upon the newest, latest, greatest, which I really think is kind of the best solution for rods. And this is a neoprene cover. 6 Sense makes this one. A lot of things I really, really like about these neoprene covers. One is your guides have total protection. There's no question. Great. Also, you don't have any worries about the rod tip poking out of the end. So that's all good. Next, they have this lanyard to attach to your rod, your reel handles. I think that's awesome, and it's fully adjustable. And then the final reason I really like these is they are made to prevent treble hooks from penetrating. Now, will they? Yes, they will, but there's something in this neoprene material that is specifically designed to prevent the hook from going all the way through. And so far, I've found that to be the case, that I haven't had the treble hook problem with these neoprene ones. Now, the problem with the neoprene ones is they're expensive. They're like $10 each. So, if you got 5 rods, that's $50. If you got 50 rods, you know, a lot of money. So it's really kind of personal preference. There are sleeves out there made by specific manufacturers as well that you often will get with a rod when you purchase it. One of the nicest ones is made by Megabass. If you buy a Megabass rod, they give you a very well constructed cover that zips. It's got a zipper just in the bottom portion. Your whole rod slides in there and you slip it, can zip it, and the entire rod is completely encased in this cover. It's a very, very nice cover. I don't know if you can buy these separately or if you have to buy the rod with it, but I got this when I bought my Megabass rod, a couple of rods. Whenever you buy a Megabass rod, they give you a really nice case. You would think that G. Loomis rods would do the same, and they do. They give you a case, but it is the cheapest, chintziest, weakest nylon material there is. This is way cheaper than the Bass Pro one that you buy. So they sell you a $500 rod and give you the absolute cheapest. So I don't even use these. I just toss them. They're worthless. But in a nutshell, whether you end up using the nylon one or the springy webbed ones or the full neoprene, they are a great investment, and I highly recommend keeping your rods in some sort of a jacket or a sleeve. So if you're gonna spend a lot of money on a rod, take the extra time to buy something to cover your rod and keep it safe. There's just so many times when your rods are gonna get abused and beat up, and you want these things to last a really, really long time. There's no better way to do it than investing in a rod sleeve. I highly recommend it, and there's super cheap options, super expensive options. Just go take a look at tacklewarehouse.com or anywhere on the web, and there's a lot of choices out there for really good rod sleeves. I hope this information was helpful for you, and if it was, please like, subscribe, and share. It would really mean a lot to me. And until next time, this is Mr. Bass. Happy fishing.